Glorious day to all of you. Thank you so much for tuning in. I didn't know and I don't know what this video is going to be about, but I know it's important for us to connect every day. I guess I want to start with saying, how can you use this YouTube channel the best now is put it on as an audio while you're doing your chores. As handsome as I am, there ain't too much going on in terms of razzle dazzle right now. This is all about information, connecting. If you're looking for razzle dazzle, I do plenty of flips and jump off of cliffs in a lot of the other videos, so you can go check that out. But for now, I just really want to be a reliable source of good energy to tune into. And as much as I am outside of you, and I do not advocate for reliance on the external world, I do know that we got to do our laundry, we got to do our dishes, we got to do our things. And maybe if you've heard enough of your own voice, because I hope you are listening to yourself the most, you can throw on a YouTube video of mine, and hopefully the things that I think about and share with you are of interest to you. The last video we talked about the wing makers, time travel, Dr. Neruda, and today in my life is an understanding of myself, learning more about myself, explaining myself to others, in particular women. I, as a man, have a gear inside me that is always open to experiencing the beautiful connection between a man and a woman. And also, me being in what I call extra innings. I call my life now, I'm in extra innings, because I was killed by my opposition, by the devil and his minions and demons. They groomed and abused me as a kid, left me for dead, and the deep dark hole I was in, fuck, I was done. Physically dead, hit a telephone pole going 100 kilometers an hour. Absolutely should have killed me. And that was just the physical death. The other death was the mind state that put me in that position where I would choose to kill myself over beauty and love and life. And when I recognized that I was dead, that I didn't know a right choice from a wrong choice, I said, God, if you exist, please give me some guidance and turn the volume up so loud that I won't be able to ignore it. And sacred geometry came my way. If you guys are interested in, other than deep breathing as often as you can, studying and creating your own sacred geometry will connect you with incredibly powerful forces in this realm. 100%. The flower of life is very easy to do. It's very fun to do. And me, as a national champion athlete, I was very square, no artistic measure within me whatsoever. But I bought a geometry set for $10, bought some colored pens, stack of white printer paper, and I walked out of Staples for about $20 with these tools that helped unlock the God inside of me. Thank you so much. So if you're interested in connecting with yourself and maybe putting on one of these YouTube videos of mine or of Manly P. Hall, he's an incredible guy, Manly Palmer Hall. He was a young 17-year-old kid living in California, and a very wealthy couple employed him to go for auctions of rare books all around the world. And so he bought up all these rare books, and you can just imagine the knowledge and influences that were around him at that time. So he inherited this library, which is now the Philosophical Research Institute in Los Angeles, California. So I would do sacred geometry. I would just make a flower of life, color it all in, and listen to these lectures by Manly Palmer Hall. Another great guy that's come out of the woodwork since then is Rudolf Steiner. He's a guy that is a part of the Anthropomorphic Society. And the Anthropomorphic Society talks about evolution, and not just physical evolution, but spiritual science and spiritual evolution with a very, very precise system. And just, it's not hippy dippy like, oh, maybe this is happening. There's such faith in these things. Like, for example, the idea of channeling. Okay, my body, I'm a physical meat sack in this environment. The things that I do and the thoughts that I do and the ideas and emotions that I have can be a channel for maybe a creature like me that just isn't connected as solidly in this realm with a meat sack like me. Like, for example, maybe an individual whom we know as Jesus Christ. Perhaps his physical body is not as concrete in this reality as mine is and yours is, but his body, not physical, but other body, is in another realm. And so by doing things that Jesus did, and by thinking the things that Jesus thought, and by feeling the things that Jesus felt, I myself can potentially be a channel for Jesus in this world still. Whoa, why am I inspired to grow my hair like this? Why am I inspired to fast? Why am I inspired to pray daily? Because my life is better like this. And so in regards to the Anthropomorphic Society and spiritual science, there has been studies done where individuals, separate individuals, separated by time and space and influences, channel particular entities, and they all say roughly the same thing. Obviously, slightly different expressions, but you know, these types of sciences, when they are scrutinized properly, do produce a verification of faith, you could say, because you're kind of looking at these different people and saying, well, no, I don't see any connection between you and this being that you're channeling. But then I can see the results of the channel, and wow, they actually are enough to say, okay, there is a connection here. And so, yeah, Rudolf Steiner is a great one. Manly P. Hall. Those are my kind of go-to. Wegapal YouTube channel. Got to put that in there, right? And yeah, so maybe this today is all about sacred geometry, inspiring you guys to go out and spend the best $20 you could ever spend. And I promise you, I mean, they say that above Plato's Academy, above the entrance, it said, nobody ignorant to geometry shall enter. And the flower of life is very easy. You get a compass, you make one circle. It's going to be the one size. You keep that size the whole way. You take that center piece of the circle, put it on the edge of that first circle, give it a spin around, and then you just keep putting the center of the circle where the first circle and the second circle intersect. And you'll go around that first circle 6 times, creating 7 full circles, and a beautiful flower emerges. Like, as I said earlier, I had 0 artistic talent and also 0 self-confidence. I was groomed and abused to be the runt of the litter. And so when I made this flower of life, I've looked at it, and deep, deep, deep inside me, I was like, wow, I made something beautiful. And that's why I always encourage parents and, children to do this, because it will build their confidence. It will, it's so beautiful and so easy. And most of us have been abused to the point where we don't trust ourselves to create divine beauty, to be a god, to be a goddess in this world. And I will tell you that the flower of life is a god. It is a goddess. It doesn't have, the beautiful and articulate body that we have. Its body is simple. It's a couple circles in this beautiful, beautiful, but the energies and its body outside of this reality are so, 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 so powerful. So back to something that I'm going through as I progress in this meat sack and this physical world is being a man that loves to experience the connection with women. But also, and more importantly, is my duties in my extra innings. I should have been dead. As far as I'm concerned, I'm dead. God brought me back. God pushed me back into the ring and said, go get him, champ. You ain't out of the game yet. And since then, I prosecuted and convicted and, a huge celebrity in Canadian sports. And by busting him, we were able to find out, wow, there's a bunch of other guys. And I'm still trying to bust them. Obviously, God isn't grabbing those guys yet. God seems to be letting the bad guys go, or some of the bad guys go, probably to let them take out other bad guys, kind of like my coach did. By my coach getting caught and actually becoming so successful before getting caught, when he did get caught, it was like, whoa, look at all you other guys helping this dude out. You guys are bad guys too. Or you guys are good people doing bad stuff and you've got to stop. Otherwise, you're entitled to the punishment of a bad person, right? And I'll tell you, man, one of the lawyers, Bruno DeVita, who diminished my case as a child rape victim, telling me that what I experienced isn't worth the money that I told him. And he actually did say it's worth a lot more than that, but you'll never get that. Because, and then he didn't say this, but it's because he's doing shit for bad people. He had his tongue cut out. He had cancer in his tongue, the same tongue that he used to create spells in this world, to prevent justice, to diminish me, to protect more predators, to create more child victims and other victims. God cut out part of his tongue. Well, he chose to have his tongue cut out because the cancer was just too much for him, I guess. He didn't want to change his ways. Instead, he just figured, yeah, cut it out, doctor. And then I'll go back to spitting my venom, right? I love you, Bruno, but I'm right on this. Crying out loud, please, Bruno, come around. Make your own videos. Be like, yeah, you know what? I'm changing this tune. Because if Bruno doesn't, his children have to. We always have to learn the lessons that our fathers failed to learn. That is the process of evolution. So I'm in extra innings here. My number one goal is to stay happy and healthy and increase my power so that I can keep busting these guys. These guys are like, the next guy on the list is Mitch Geller. Mitch Geller is the president of Diving Canada. Diving Canada is the national high diving organization in Canada. Mitch Geller groomed and abused his own athlete when she was a young child, lost his job because the parents were like, what the fuck, you can't be doing this, kicked him out. But the internet wasn't so prevalent back then. So he just moved to another city, took the chick with him, took the girl with him, and, continued his relationship with her and went on to marry her and become the president of Diving Canada. And so many coaches know this. So many coaches know that this guy is a child predator in charge of the country's diving programs. And then you know what happens when a child comes forward and says, hey, my coach, had sex with me. My coach took advantage of me. The president of Diving Canada, Mitch Geller's like, I don't see anything wrong with that. Why don't we just move this coach over here? And that's how my coach got away with what he was doing for a long time, as well as Arturo Miranda. And I fought strong enough to get Arturo Miranda to the point where he had to move to another country. He moved to Italy, and now I think he's in Spain. He's in Madrid. Hallelujah. These guys are rascals, man. Absolute rascals. And the worst part of it is they suffer. They will get to the point where they're like Bruno De Vita. And they have, I'm going to keep using my tongue like this, so just cut it out and I'll keep doing my best, right? Like, come on, guys. Say some prayers. Grab onto God's hand that's always extended to you. And maybe a guy like Bruno De Vita, who's a lifetime lawyer, working as a safe sport agent and a lawyer for Aviva Insurance, who's silencing the record on these things so that Aviva doesn't have to pay out. Bruno probably feels like, I got a lot of pressure on me to support my family, to not fuck up my professional career. Guess what, Bruno? God will protect you and bless you with so many more benefits than the money that Aviva's paying you, than the career that you think you have. Man, these guys, and so Bruno had his tongue cut out. Mitch Geller had me assaulted. I went to a national diving championships to continue the conversation about, why is Mitch Geller still here, guys? And I thought about this. I was like, I'm going to a national diving competition. I'm a former national champion. I have every right to be there, but I don't want to take away from the athlete's experience. So there's kind of 3 degrees. I always measure things in 3 degrees: little, medium, a lot. So a lot would be me going with a microphone. Mitch Geller shouldn't be looking after kids. What the f***'s going on here? Why hasn't this guy lost his job yet? Or I could just talk to people and, just say, hey, you want to talk about this? What's going on? Or the most quiet version, the most considerate, was for me to type up a 1-page document and go hand it out. So I chose that one. I'm always very considerate. Even when I'm busting dudes, I always say, if I was somebody who is getting busted, how would I want the guy busting me to be busting me, right? And it's obviously like, hey man, would you mind doing the right thing? Would you mind repenting? And no? Okay, then I'm just going to have to inform more people. We're just going to have to keep making this thing bigger and bigger. So I went there. I started handing out flyers and a guy approaches me. This guy's name's Gino, okay? Gino's the security guard. I got Bruno, the lawyer, who's like in the courts roughing everybody up. And then I've got Gino. So Gino comes up to me. He's like, hey, I got to ask you to leave. I say, well, who's asking? He's like, I got a no trespass order from to serve you. And I say, okay, well, who's the no trespass order from? Is this trespass order from a judge? Is it from a justice of the peace? Like, who's the trespass order from? It's from Diving Canada, he said. And I say, so, okay, Diving Canada, of course, Mitch Geller, the president of Diving Canada, doesn't want me here. I'm trying to expose him for being a child predator, looking after other child predators. So I said, with all due respect, Gino, I can't respect this no trespass order. But I'm pretty much on my way out anyway. I'm just going to hit this bleachers over here, hand out a few more documents, and then I'll be on my way. And he actually grabs my shoulder and says, no, you're not going anywhere. And then gets in front of me. I try to go around him. Did I publish this yet? I don't know if I published this video yet, but maybe that'll be one of the next ones I publish. Anyway, we filmed the whole thing. Me and my mother filmed the whole thing. And of course, Mitch Geller hired this not a police officer. He acted like a police officer, falsely impersonated a police officer in force. But for years, I've been calling Mitch Geller, leaving messages because he rarely answers. He answered one time years ago. And I started to get, just a good conversation. I'm very friendly. And, all it takes is time and energy to resolve these things. It's when you're like, no, I'm not going to deal with this. Oh, that's when the problem festers. But after we had one conversation, then he kind of soured, kind of maybe scared about the, interactions and coming around into the light. And so for years I've called him and left him messages just saying, hey, Mitch, come on, man, get on the right side of this. Get on the right side of this. And before I went down to the national diving competition, I called him and I said, hey, man, you're keeping ignoring me. This issue isn't going to go away. You literally protected the pedophile that raped me physically and of an Olympic experience. Like, Mitch, come on, man. Like, you owe some restitution. Just show up. Just talk to me on the phone. Let's start working on this. But you're ignoring me, Mitch. So I will see you at the Nationals this weekend. And I think I said something like, and I'm having reminiscence of what happened with Trevor, because I did the same thing with Trevor Palmatier. He was the coach that groomed and abused me. I went to a diving meet that he was at and approached him, said, hey, let's talk about this outside privately. I basically said, like, you can't be involved in diving. You've got to leave right now, or I'm going to have to go tell everybody what you did with me. And he called my bluff, so I told everybody. Everybody's like, sorry to hear about that. And nobody did anything. And I'm like, oh, this is kind of weird. It's because they all knew, and they're just like happy to be making money, I guess, off of this. But whatever, that's on you guys, you diving coaches. You know what's going on, man. You can't help an industry grow when you know that it's eating kids up like this. Anyway, so Mitch obviously checks his messages and hires this security guard, Gino. Gino fucking slams me into a wall and then very roughingly drags me outside. And I didn't fight back at all. I just made sure to stay on my feet. These guys want an excuse to point the finger at me. You imagine a grown man attacks me and all I've got to do is throw one punch. All I've got to do is fall out of grace. But instead I just keep my balance while he drags me outside. I continue telling him, Gino, like, what are you doing, man? You're embarrassing yourself. You're protecting pedophiles now? Oh, I'm not doing that. I'm like, do you know what you're doing? Well, I know a little bit. Like, anyway, so maybe that'll be the next video I publish because it's quite something. And I hadn't published this video yet because the police were called and I put forward that I was assaulted. This is assault and battery. And not only just that, but it's a predicate act. Good day, fellas. How are you?
Good. Fantastic.
Top notch.
How are you doing today?
Top notch, guys. Top notch. I won't be here much longer, but I'm going to be doing some yapping for another couple minutes.
Okay.
So, a predicate act is a criminal offense that by itself is individual, but in a larger relation to other criminal acts, creates an even greater criminal state or criminal mind. For example, gangs who go to a shop and they extort the owner for protection money. They basically say, we're going to beat you up unless you pay us money. Oh, you don't pay us money, we beat you up. Now, that's just an assault. But in regards to the gang activity, that's called a predicate act. It's an act that's more serious than just the act itself. So Gino assaults me as he's protecting these pedophiles. And because Mitch Geller ordered this and also has not tried or even attempted to repent for what he's doing, Mitch Geller's first son died. He was one of the guys that you see in the paper died suddenly. What was the cause of death? I don't know. Everybody that I talk to is like, oh, that seems like karma to me. And this was brought up in court because I openly talk about it. I wish I didn't have to. Nobody wants to say this kind of stuff. But I mean, you can imagine, given the circumstances that I've been put in, like, talking about stuff is like, man, we have to start talking about this stuff. Anyway. So I guess we know what the next video is going to be, hey? Yeah, that'll be a banger. So the extra innings. And you know what? These young gentlemen just showed up to do some fishing at this spot that I'm sitting at. So we're gonna let them get to it. And maybe I'll tell you more about my endeavors with learning more about myself and how to express myself better in a manner which both respects my pure masculinity and also is better received by the feminine side, because we are polar opposites. And it seems like the further a man you are, the more you piss off women, you know? So there's like, yeah, just kind of trying to find this sweet spot in between. But anyway, y'all, I love you lots. Maybe I'll just publish the video of the assault. Part 2 coming up soon. Love y'all. Peace.